Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the JKWD podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. If you're not, you're about to. So here we go. Kelvin, how are you today?
I am lovely. Thank you very much. Sitting here in not exactly sunny Syracuse, New York. Sun shining, as I can tell, because there's light coming in the window. And doing okay. We had a little snow this past week, but not anything oppressive. So
Good.
We're doing all right. Life's good. I'm still breathing and waking up on my own power every morning. I'm happy.
Good stuff. As you can hear in my voice, I have another daycare gift from my daughter.
They love you.
So the one danger of sending your kid off is that they pick up all sorts of new stuff that you don't want swimming around your system. But hey,
but she doesn't have them. She just gives it to you.
That's right. She gets them for like 6 hours. I get them for a week.
Sorry about that, bro.
We are brought to you today by Vitamin K Daily. Get your daily dose of positive from the Prince of Positive himself. Pick yourself up 4 weeks free. Go to vitaminkdaily.com now. If you sign up, you will be immediately welcomed with your 4-week trial. After that, $24.95 for the year. You get a little boost in the morning, Monday through Friday. Comes before you're awake, probably, unless you're on a different continent.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about continents. We're talking about, like Europe or Asia, where 3:30 in the morning New York time is, really midday.
5 hours ahead these days? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Somewhere
So speaking of Europe, our guests today are Nick Jankel and Alison McAuley. Nick was on almost 2 years ago now, talking about Switch On Now. And Alison is his wife and partner in the business, and she's taken on more of a role in the last couple of years as their kids have gotten older. And the energy here was wonderful. And a couple of really heartwarming husband-wife moments during this podcast. I think you're really going to enjoy this. You're going to get a lot out of it. Take the time to sit down and listen. I don't think you're going to be able to do much else while you're hearing it. They have so much energy between them.
They do. Good energy. And he's got a British accent. Yes.
Yes, he does.
Not James Bond, but hey, he's doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's play some music, and on the other side of that, you'll hear Nick and Allie. Josh and Kelvin World Domination Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
Nice to meet you guys, by the way.
Nice you too. Welcome. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had last had Nick on about almost 2 years ago. I think it was in April of 19.
Yeah.
So sounds like Switch On has gotten a lot bigger and had some vastly like widened goals since you were last here. So why don't you catch us up? Let us know what you've been up to.
And strangely less as well at the same time, but we can talk about that. So
pivot upon pivot upon pivot.
Yeah, pivot, like adaptive shifting all the time. I mean, one of the things that we basically believe around personal development, life development, business development is it's alive. We use the word biodynamic, which is a nice posh word, but basically we're living people, we're living systems, and businesses are living. And if one is constantly exploring one's meaning, one's purpose, one's consciousness, then your projects will also continually change and shift and evolve. And that should be celebrated, whereas a lot of people think it's a problem because it doesn't fit in the old dead business model where you pick a plan and you go, like the machine age, you buy a machine, you turn it on, you make some money, you might improve the product once every 5 years, you fiddle around with the margins, and hopefully you make a lot of money. Whereas we believe that business projects purpose is alive, and so our business is alive. And as we grow and mature ourselves and with each other and as parents, and also as facilitators, guides, coaches, healers, then our business keeps evolving. So it's a constant process of inside, refining, talking, sharing, agreeing, executing, and then it all starts again. And that's kind of what's been happening. So we've done quite a lot of that. A big change has been Ali's gone from being primary a parent and then secondarily a co-founder to probably equal parent co-founder. So there's a lot more, we spend a lot more time together, working together, doing a lot more. So that's been a massive shift in the energy of the business, in the yin yang of the business, products. So that's been great. Do you want to speak any more about that?
I'm just liking the smile, so I really want to know what's behind that smile she's got right there.
It was a big smile, wasn't it? That was like a Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Okay, the audience can't see it, but look, I just did a screenshot. You need to see the smile on this woman. So I want to know what's going on with that.
Well, it's just been so full on, hasn't it, for everybody, no matter what your circumstances are. And to be able to have the tools of transformation and to really understand how the body mind works in order to keep up with the changes is like crucial for every human being in the world. And I feel blessed and grateful that we have those tools. And even though we have those tools, it's still challenging to constantly adapt and make sure that who we are and what we are delivering and being of service to in the world fits.
Yeah, we have a joke that if we all spent the amount of time we should spend processing our life each day, none of us would do anything else other than process what's going on, right? You watch this thing and then your parents call and then your kids got a problem and then you're homeschooling. And if you just processed everything, literally, there'd be no time for Netflix. It'd be processing and eating. And of course, no one can do that.
And then process what you eat, right?
Yeah, exactly. And don't process what you eat. Exactly right. Process your consciousness, not your food. That could be our new strapline. So we've been doing just lots of that. Since last we spoke, we've been running a program in China, which has been amazing, a personal development program in Shanghai. So getting a big slice of Chinese consciousness and all their unique realities. That's been like 300-400 people type 3-day, all singing, all dancing, music, meditation, ecstatic dance experience.
I'm sorry, sir. That's not what we're seeing on the news about China. So I'm not sure we can use this segment.
That's the thing. So we're in the middle of running, like I'm DJing, sending out hypnotherapeutic suggestion. Ali's doing an embodied Kundalini thing for 400 people. And then we're just looking at ourselves going, is this really happening? Are we really here in this world, in this state, which is so different, so many ways from the US, the UK.
Yet they're just people with the same issues as everybody else.
And some might say more, given what's happened over there the last 50 years. It's been a pretty intense ride on the Chinese expansion, and still is. So that's been amazing. And then the last 6 months we've just spent, after lockdown happened in the UK, there's been a lockdown again, on and off, a bit like New York. It's on and off and on and off. So, we've had moments of going out, seeing my family, camping, and then lots of sitting at home time. So the first bit of time we didn't pivot immediately. And that's actually did a whole set of videos on not changing everything immediately, because usually we're too overwhelmed to make high quality decisions about our future. So we took a while to process it, to pause. I also, in that time, realized I was a bit burnt out from flying around the world doing keynotes and workshops. So take a bit of time to catch up with ourselves, catch up with the kids, upgrade who we are now. And then around May last year, we started to look at how can we take this 3-day experience in China, this kind of 5-day, we did an advanced program, 5-day program. How can we take that all and reconstitute it for a virtual world, for a long distance, low flying, low carbon, but high community, high energy world? That's what we've done a lot of time on that. What tools can we use to make transformation, personal development accessible if you don't have a lot of money? If you can't make your way to New York or San Francisco or London for a beautiful retreat, blah blah thing, what can we do? And that's always been a driving force of ours. But like most people, we use the models that most people use. We big workshops, high performance, high production values. So we just spent a long time re-looking at what our entire delivery experience model to make some things available to people who are probably going to be where they're going to be for the foreseeable, and probably don't have enormous amounts of money to spend as well. So that's been a really great, coming back to our original roots in when we first met, we actually met around the idea of how do you make transformational development, personal development, affordable and accessible. Ali had been working in San Quentin. I've been working with unemployed kids in difficult areas in the UK. And that was always our founding idea, is like, how do we get this stuff available to people who either don't like the language or the branding or the cultural appropriation, the upper middle class paraphernalia of the personal development space.
Gotcha. So you kind of brought just to kind of wrap the whole thing up. You were going like big international, and now you've brought the focus kind of back into our living rooms, which many of us aren't really allowed to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good, because I think that's also, I mean, I also, in the meantime, by the way, in the last 2 years, I've also set up a sustainability consultancy with a former client of mine to help companies become truly sustainable, not just a little bit around the edges, but and one of the things I've kind of realized is we all have to, the challenge I think we've all got is, how do we keep global, keep this kind of communication we're having, global spread of ideas, of inspiration, of love, of interconnectivity, of cultural appreciation, into being, as Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, a sense of into being. So we keep the global, but return to a more pragmatic local, because anything other than local is high carbon, is going to cause heating and pollution and whatever. So we're kind of like, how do we balance that for our own self and then our own business?
Yeah, we had a really big epiphany around that, and how we were contributing to that, and how to reach, but stay local and stay accessible. And I guess it's kind of a blessing, because we realized that we could do this online and make it accessible to everybody. So we're looking forward to doing our 2 transformational leadership programs and our transformational living program.
So I know that, one of the things that I've been hearing in my circles in the last few months is the academic conference is dead.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what you do with a 3 to 5 day retreat workshop.
Yeah.
Similar thing is, do you have the online tools to do that right now? I'm guessing it's a little hard to do an ecstatic dance workshop on Zoom for 400 people, because just there's internet lag.
Totally. And people are doing that. I mean, the good news is for us, and I think for the human condition, nobody, it's one of the primary principles of our work, is nobody heals you for you. No one coaches you for you. No one develops you for you. You do all that yourself anyway. So once you say, well, we don't have to have people come into our special experience. We can help them create their special experience for themselves. A little bit of guidance, a little bit of input, lots of content. And we can talk about that in a minute. The person who does the healing is always you. The part of you we call the connector. Your wisest part of you is the healer. Inner shaman, inner guru, inner healer. So then we start going, well, that's great, because then we don't have to like force you to heal. And a lot of the big budget empowerment, self-development workshops are all, there's a little bit of a force in there because we want to do it quickly, right? We're here for 3 days in Hawaii, and we're going to make you have a breakthrough, and we're going to do everything and we're going to pop everything. And so immediately, as soon as you disintegrate that model and go, well, we don't have to do it in 3 days, we can do it in 4 months. And actually, we ended up doing it in 6 months. We're going to do 6-month programs, and the leadership program is 9 months. And then we can actually go, well, we can just give you things each week. And it sometimes might be a Netflix movie to watch with a lens about how to watch it. Like we can give you a recorded meditation. We can give you an ecstatic dance video, which you then do for yourself, and we might do some collective versions of that, but I don't think there's actually really as much need to, because you can create the collectiveness, and that's in other ways. And that's the one thing that's the Zoom life, Zoom world has given us, is an appreciation that you can actually do a lot more for digital collectiveness than I think anyone realized. And it may not be a rave or a party or what, that may be still one step too far. But you can certainly do a lot of the heart connectiveness through these media. Apologize. Get my Latin rocking.
So my favorite story of a business that refused to pivot was Kodak inventing the digital camera in the 70s and then saying, nobody will ever use this. The processing will never be fast enough. And they bankrupted themselves because nobody was using film anymore. How resistant were you to pivoting, and how quickly did you say, okay, we need to do this despite our resistances?
I was definitely probably more resistant because I really like being with people in a room, being an embodiment leadership facilitator. I like to see bodies and faces and movement. So I had to really do a lot of work on that and get past this sort of thing and feel how I can have that heart connection through a screen, and that it's still just as powerful.
Or different.
It's different.
I mean, also Ali's used to doing one-to-one healing, right? Where you're touching the body. And so I get that fully. As I don't know if you remember from our last engagement, so I spent my first 10 years of my life running an innovation consultancy, helping companies disrupt markets. And one of the rules you have in disruption is you can't give, when you change a model from like, let's call it American Airlines or Pan Am business class to JetBlue, you can't do Pan Am with the same level of price and accessibility as JetBlue.
Right.
And I think of it like a mixer in a DJ's mixer, right? If you take away some bass, you can add some treble. If you take away some treble, you can add some mids. What you can't do is have all the levels up at 100. So by us saying, well, we're not going to have you in a room for 5 days in a beautiful place with, tinkling, waterfalls outside and someone serving you vegan-tastic food. But what we can do is we can make it fit in your life, and we can make it really empower you to not just have the problem of the workshop, the big retreat, is that it's unbelievably rich and amazing. And you walk away going, oh my God, I've had 5 peak experiences. I've got new best friends for life. I had an epiphany every hour. But then the hard bit is integrating it, right? And you go back to your life and your normal life, and then you're back there going, I can barely remember the name of that woman who I hugged for 3 hours on the dance floor and cried, and our trauma of cry together, right? And so we can lose some of that intensity, but what we gain is longevity and integration into your life that you can only get for 6 months, or 4 months. It takes a long time to really work on some of those patterns, the ones that we focus on, not the easy patterns, the challenging patterns, the stuff that you've had for a lifetime and quite frankly has worked quite well for you up to then. So that's what I mean. So like the Kodak thing, you lose the richness of print, for example, but you gain the amazingness of Instagram, the portability, whatever, So that's what we've had to do is try, you take away some stuff, you can add some other stuff. But to be honest with you, we've already had some of the tools in our armory, just haven't really used them. 15 years ago, I had this epiphany and I said, look, the world's got too many problems for, let's call it the guru model. It doesn't necessarily have to be a guru, but like the one guru model. Mm-hmm. No one's going to be able to have their own therapist at 9 billion people. No one's going to be able to have their own coach. It's just not plausible. Unless half the world's a therapist and half the world's a client, it's not going to work.
That's what I was going to say, because choosing to live a transformational life is a choice. You either choose to live your life or not. It's not a special thing that only a few people get to do for 5 days in a place where there's a guru model. So in fact, it is fully taking responsibility in that I'm choosing to live a transformational life. And this happens in every moment, in every conversation. It's not just sitting and doing some ohms. It's in the moment that you get totally triggered. Do you have the tools to self-regulate yourself, calm down your nervous system, and come back into connection with somebody?
And that's where the apps and things have worked really well for people, right? Because they're there in your life. You don't have to go somewhere. Right. And so I've already saw that a long time ago. Two things when I first started this business, before I met Alison, the two things I saw, but I didn't know how to monetize and turn into a business model. But the two things I saw was, one, I can't be a self-help guy for the elite, which is what most self-help models end up being, because that's people who've got money and willing to spend it, traditionally, historically. And I always resisted that, didn't want to do it. And the second one was, it can't just be me in the front of a room. It can't be the elite model. So years ago, I created a peer-to-peer transformational healing, coaching, therapy toolkit. But you know what? It was ahead of its time. People didn't get it. People were like, well, where's the coach? Where's the healer? We're like, your buddy is. And then you work on this thing together. And then you have the correct thing. You don't need a coach or a healer. And it was way ahead of its time, trying to get funding way ahead of its time. And of course, now people are like, oh, I could really use some buddy coaching, peer-to-peer healing. So we're relaunching that toolkit, looking at the app, and most exciting for me, again, something I've been looking at for years, but the tech wasn't there, is virtual reality. I think that is where you can win the mix of high experience, high production values, but in your living room. And that's going to be, I think, where we would like to play our biggest our transformational moonshot is going to be the VR guru, psychedelic guru in your VR goggles type situation.
What's the spread of VR in the UK right now and other parts of the world where you're looking? Because it's
growing fast. Okay. Oculus is doing a lot of work in that. I mean, it's really coming online. There's some good meditation experiences. And I think it won't be long before they're in schools for education. And hopefully people can, share these tools. You don't have to have one Oculus per family. It's a bit nuts, right?
Right.
Who's got the tech for that? So, that's kind of, I think, really exciting. And just peer-to-peer. I've always thought peer-to-peer is the ultimate model for the world's problems.
Elaborate peer-to-peer.
So if you think about let's call it just the failure of the healing model, is there are lots of people who've got trauma and pain and a limited number of therapists and experts and people with degrees and 5 degrees. And in the developing world, they crack this in a number of areas by saying, well, if we can get someone who's just a little bit ahead of this person in need, or even the same as this person in need, but we give them some tools and some process, then they can do a reasonable job themselves. It won't be the same as having a PhD from Stanford in trauma therapy do working with you. It won't be like probably that good, but it'll be there and it'll be accessible at almost zero cost. And they've done this in landmines healing. They've done this in teaching in India. They've done it in all sorts of areas. And I really believe that the time has come for the development industry to embrace peer-to-peer and say, listen, two human beings, you've got everything you need to work together on your stuff. And what we're going to do is give you some tools and some process and a way of holding you safely. So you can so one of the challenges of peer-to-peer is the contracting, right? So when you see a therapist or a coach, you contract with them. And there's some kind of both literal and maybe sacred agreement gets created at the beginning of a session of whatever it is. So we give people a little bit of help with that in our toolkits and our stuff. So people have some of those to create what do you call it? The container, to create the container for safety, for exploring your stuff together in a safe way.
So one of the most important things in our work is helping people create a relationship with their innate wisdom in the body mind. So like if you get a cut on your finger, it doesn't stay there forever. It naturally heals itself. So it's like tapping into that. So in a buddy-buddy situation or a peer-to-peer situation, it's all about the questions and taking people on a journey to then ask the question to your buddy for them to learn how to connect it into that space. So we give them both theory and embodied practices, because we can take information in cognitively through our minds, and we can also take it in through our felt sense, through our interoceptive connection. So what are we feeling? What are we sensing? So many people are completely cut off from the head and they're totally numb. They don't even know what they're feeling. And studies have shown that interoceptive intelligence, the more aware we are of our feelings, the more our emotional intelligence also increases and the better mental health we have. So the buddy is there to tap into that for the other person, but really they're doing it themselves. Yeah. And I think we're so conditioned, especially in the West, to think that somebody else is going to give me the answer. I need to go to the doctor for somebody else to tell me what to do, right? We have an education system for the most part where children have to sit there and just listen. You, the teacher, tell me what to do. And then we don't even know. We become so disempowered and disembodied that we don't even know who we are or how our mind and body work.
And that worked a long time ago when there were answers, right? But no teacher in an elementary school in, Texas probably has the answer for how their student now is going to have to deal with pollution and heating of the atmosphere in 20 years' time, right? So we can't give people the answer. We have to give them the tools, the processes, the questions, the methods, the design thinking, the creative thinking, the self-healing.
Yeah, all the mindsets.
And we fundamentally believe, and this is, I think, controversial sometimes at the moment, that you can transform your own trauma without a trauma expert. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's, walk in the park.
Or for everybody.
And some people will still need to go and find someone with professional expertise to help them because they're really stuck. But as I said, there's too much trauma for the current system to handle. And I mean that in every sense of the system. And therefore, we really believe you can transform your own trauma. And that's quite an important flag for our sort of theory and practice set is, well, how do I do that then? Because it's a big talk.
There was a stat that...
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there was a statistic that said depression and anxiety disorders cost the global economy $1 trillion in lost productivity. And I thought, God, if we could even just take half of that money and create, empower and create centers and an education system that actually teaches people how to deal with their trauma and know how to heal it, the world would be in a much different place.
I'm a mindset guy, so if you got something on mindset, I'm right there. Just bring it up. But excuse me, there's a lot of people who their mindset is, this is my mindset. I'm not going to change it. This is how I've grown up. This is what I think, and you can't tell me anything else. How do you? So when you go to putting peer-to-peer stuff together, you're laughing at me.
Another thing, those are my favorite.
We know those people.
Those are my favorite customers. I don't like targeting people who already know who are already interested. I like getting the people who are uninterested on board.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Well, me too. But it gives me headaches. So how do you work with those folks? Because at some point, you have to get them to look.
Yeah.
They have to actually get rid of the I am who I am. That's just the way I hate. That's just the way I am. I know so many of those, and they hold on so tightly to that's just the way I am. When I know, not really. You were engineered. I mean, somebody engineered that in you.
Yeah, that's conditioning.
And you can change that if you
want to.
Yeah.
So when you're doing peer-to-peer stuff, I mean, how are you picking the peers?
Well, that's a really good question. We have come across that issue, and also people saying, well, I don't have a peer to work with. I can't find a buddy. And we've looked at how we help people connect together. At the moment, what we do is we give people the peer-to-peer toolkits once they're in the program, one of the programs with us, so that we've already got a community who are going on a cohort journey, a 6-month, 9-month journey. Mm-hmm. And then we say, those of you want to buddy up, and we can give you the buddy because people are now in the group together. Right. We have sold the toolkits for people to buddy up for themselves. But ideally, we'd like to use technology to help people buddy in a safe way, and we're not there. That's definitely another next level thinking. So if you're married to someone who's like I just who I am, dude, that's who I am, and then the other partner's like, I want to change and grow and make our relationship flower, and that's that. I'm not sure buddy toolkit's going to solve that problem.
Okay.
But it's like people have to have at least things either have to be so bad that they're open, or they have to be good that they're open. I mean, that's generally the thing. People are either life is really tough, so I'm open.
Yeah, I think it's remembering that underneath all that resistance is deep layers of fear, and so that's what you want to get into and try to. That's why safety is key, and that comes from the moment we come into the world. Did we feel seen, heard, supported, and loved, therefore safe? Or was our environment not like that, and we didn't feel seen, heard, loved, and supported? So as soon as we feel we are unsafe, there's an entirely different physiological response that suddenly you have to be hypervigilant, and you have to be on guard, you have to be defensive, because this isn't a safe place for me. Mm-hmm. Whether it's your parents, your caregivers, extended family, whoever's holding you in that space. And that's where the that's the underlying trauma or the adverse experiences that people go through, and those levels of fear. So it's creating a safe space for people to start to melt that away and go, okay, it's okay. I can deal with these really hard and hurtful feelings I've got.
And we were both there. I mean, the thing about us that is very good for our work is I was a full sort of intellectual, science-loving, anti-spiritual, anti-developmental person. And Ali was her own version, but a different, version of that. We both rejected this work for many years, and we both had our epiphanies and our openings. And so I get it when I'm working with someone who's just like, it's who I am. It's okay. It's all good. I think this stuff is rubbish. You're talking nonsense, whatever.
Cynical, sarcastic.
Cynical. Fuck yeah. Or I've been there. And one of the joys of working together actually is, given a room of 100 people, because we're quite different, same, energy, same source, but different manifestations of it. We tend to be able to bring most people in a room into the rapport, into the community, into the learning moment, the opening. And some people like Ali's style more, some people like my style more, and that's whereas if it's just one of us working, it's harder to bring the whole gang together. And a lot of the times we're working with people who are, maybe I'll be totally gender stereotyped. The woman's into it, the dad's not, or the husband's not, but he's coming along anyway because he promised he would, and he's sitting there going on his phone looking at stock market shares, and I'm like, I'm going to bring you in, dude, in the between, before the end of this day, you're coming with me. And that's kind of part of the joy of it, is to, is it going to be a bit of science? Is it me being really vulnerable about something? What are we going to do to bring the different flavors of resistance ultimately?
But I think when we understand that about people, you can have a lot more compassion for people.
Definitely.
And a lot more patience and tolerance, because you get how we hold trauma, in our bodies, and how we hold this fear in our bodies. And you just go, man, that person's in a lot of pain. And is there a way that I can speak to this person or inspire this person to look inside instead of just blowing them off or, judging them. And then the cycle just continues on and on of disconnection.
We actually find music is a really good tool for us. And not like traditional meditation music, like good music. And so when we do a musical meditation guided visualization, blah, 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 I'm dropping in some beautiful classical composers. I'm dropping in some
that kind of music, yeah.
Soul, funk, jazz, rare grooves. I'm dropping in some recent house music from, we find music brings people a lot more open to music, particularly if it's good quality music. And so we use music a lot. And we just actually commissioned a bunch of tracks to use of our own. So we don't have to always, because you can't use other people's music in recorded things. You can DJ it live.
Yep, right.
But you can't do it for yourself. But finding someone who isn't going to charge you $1 million to create a bunch of tracks that have the quality levels of some of these amazing musicians has been a challenge, but we're getting somewhere towards that. So music is a great equalizer. It's always been. Dancing is a great equalizer. I grew up in the rave scene in England, and then globally, and we find, like the China thing, we find as soon as we put the music up, get some lights spinning, everyone's dancing around like nutters, and suddenly all the boundaries break down again. All the resistance melts away. And people just having a great old time. And it's blown my mind sometimes, like, 58-year-old Chinese CEO looking guy. Just like doing some crazy dance in the corner of our workshop space.
Wow.
We have a saying, words can disguise, but the body never lies.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Words can disguise, but the body never lies.
Okay.
And so about 90% of what we communicate to each other every day is nonverbal. So we communicate through our movement, our gestures, our facial expression, and our tone of voice, this actual sound that comes out.
Now, that is a complete course. That's a complete world transformational thought all by itself. Okay, so do you guys use like NLP and then this kind of thing, or something lesser or more? Or
NLP and other forms of, let's call it language structure, playfulness, but modulation. So recently I've been doing a lot of keynotes virtually. So like this, but I'm delivering a keynote for 500 people who I can't see. So that's stepped us up in how do I not just give them the message and the ideas, because that's actually the easy bit, right? how do I give them the feeling of the keynote, of a live keynote, where you're like, wow, that really powered my, like a TED talk, how do I give them the feeling of that sitting at home with my Zoom open and, whatever. So we've played around with sound, and I'm putting sounds in my keynote. So we have little musical signatures of things, which has been really powerful. We just bought a green screen, which is really fun because we're going to start doing some sort of backdrop. What can we use? We've got video, we've got sound, we've got our voices, we've got our bodies, we've got our words, we've got our ideas, we've got our memes. What can we use to get people to the next place? That's the question, right? And if you really open up to all these things, it's quite a lot that doesn't revolve around being in a room, basically.
Yeah, because the mind can transport you where you want it to go.
Exactly. The imagination is already in the person.
Yeah.
So you're using this for your clients. Are you also teaching this to other practitioners?
That's the great question. We've got a registration for a practitioner program on our website, and we've actually been getting loads and loads of people signing up. I don't know how they're even getting to that page on the website because it's advertising it or anything. No, that's definitely. Yeah. So the current thing is we've got ourselves a theory, which this is what we've just done the last 2 years, which we call biotransformation theory. Transformation and bio, rooted in the body, rooted in the physiology and in this fleshy stuff that we live in. So that's been the hard work has been coming to an alignment, the two of us, on the theory and the practice set. And we've written it out into 7, what we call them gems, like the big things of this theory are 7 things. And that's currently in a leadership book that we published last year. So the next job is to turn that into a more general book for the general reader who isn't interested in leadership per se. Working title, The Tao of Transformation. And then once we've got that book codified, which we're 80% there, but as my old boss said, when you're 90% of the way there, you've still got half to go. It's that last that last 10% is where the work really is. So what we'll hopefully end of this year, we'll have the new book out, which will be the first book we will fully. Ali's name will be on the title, co-creation. Then we can codify that down into the practitioner training and use the book as the kind of, if you want to learn how this works, this is the program for you.
Ultimately, we would love for people from all different systems, if you're in education, if you're in healthcare, politics, coaches, to come.
Social workers, probation officers, that kind of.
To have this theory and practice and then take it into their system, take it into their sector, take it into their organization. For me, this is like the foundation of what an education should be, learning how to be a human being. It's like, how did we skip that one? So, none of this is relevant unless we are turning it into work and how we are of service in the world, how we create our systems and the cultures and the processes within all of these things have to transform. So that's
yeah, we're very aware that although we'd love to work in an inner city school in Chicago, that's just not our place. And yet we've got this amazing tool set. We've both, if you count up both the years, all the years we've spent together and individually, we've spent about almost 50 years working on this methodology and this practice set. A lot of time, really. And it's really simplified. I used to be in branding and marketing, so it's kind of accessible, but not dumbed down. It's not like just made into like a, hey, if you just, think your way into being trauma-free, you will be. Obviously not. And we've realized that our ambitions for systemic change have to come from people taking our work, adding their own work, their own slant, ideas, culture, lens, vibe, and then taking it into their probation system, their school. So yes, we are definitely very excited about practitioner training. We just know that there's an unfolding sequence in just like the embryo of a body, and both of us study embryology, so it's one of our shared loves. The embryo unfolds from the first cells and then the spinal cord, and from that opens up the organs. And I kind of got that image just now when I kind of feel like a business, a purpose-driven business, is like an embryo. It unfolds and there's a sequence. And whenever we try and skip a bit of the sequence, it like slaps us on the face and goes, no, no, no. Do the sequence. So we're pretty clear
Which is much slower than we would like.
Totally. Our sort of startup West Coast entrepreneurial mindsets would love to have unrolled all of this by now. Bang, 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 and we got some startup money, bang, bang, bang. And you know what? We're just not. First of all, we're not the people who can hold it until we've done the work ourselves. That just takes time. So you can't hold a theory until you've done the work to have the theory, right? And then embody the theory. Then we want to be the people who can design these virtual programs and hold them before we teach other people to. And so we've got all the stuff there. We've got the virtual reality idea. We've got the practitioner training idea. We've got the relationship program we want to do next. It's all there. And we have to slow ourselves down and just go step, step, step. Homeschool your children, step, step, step. It's just the realities of the world we're in is slow it down.
Slow it down.
And we're not used to it. And in fact, I wrote an article which done really well on Medium called, slow companies, slow startups. It's not a race. It's an experience. And the money motive makes it a race because you want to return the most money back to the ROI, the investor. But real life isn't like that. Evolution doesn't work in a, rapid return of investment. It makes mistakes, it unfolds, it learns, it goes down a dead end.
Yeah.
Plenty of those.
Yeah.
Career of dead ends that we've reversed back up. Got okay, take the left turn.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're more of some of our failures than of our successes, right? It's
that's a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's where the juicy lessons and wisdom and knowledge live.
I love that. We're more the sum of our failures and our successes. Yeah, and how we've metabolized that failure into growth.
Yeah, I mean, we don't actually learn anything from our successes. We just know, hey, that worked, cool. We got lucky. But if we fail at something, then we get to learn from it and try again. And
right, we're watching a movie last week about that. It's a Jude Law movie. It's just come out recently, and it's set in the 80s in investment banking and anyway, long story short, this guy says to the character, "Look, dude, anyone can make money in a growing economy. Anyone can make money in a expanding economy. The real test is, can you keep the business alive in a contraction? Because then you got to focus and you got to do something good. You got to really get the good. You got to really know what your business is, and so there's something for me in that, a joy in that, which is it's just taking care of the details and doing something good, bit by bit.
I'm just having this flashback of when I used to teach dance and choreograph, and I've got this vision of myself saying, can you guys just fall? Can you fall? Can you make mistakes? Can you just do something different? Right? Because if you're playing it safe and then it becomes habitual and you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's like thoughts ruminating in our heads and we just become robots. It's like fail, fall, make a mistake, do something different. At least it's different. And then there's a new space for something else to emerge and be created.
Which must have been hard.
I don't like to fall. I don't like to fail, just thought I'd run that past you for a minute.
Absolutely.
Where does that come from? If I was taught as a child, like, great, you've made a mistake, but we don't grow up that way.
Yeah,
people and school saying, yes, what can we learn from this?
There's a practice we do sometimes, which is just to take people into a deep state and we just say the word. We just say that we say, right, notice what happens in your entire mind and body when we say this word. And we just say failure. And most people get all sorts of squirrely feelings and stuff, a bit of adrenaline and a bit of and that is very interesting, right? That's just a word. It's not even the thing itself. It's just the word failure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And not even directed at somebody. It's you're not calling somebody a failure. It's just, hey, what's your reaction to this word, right?
Exactly.
Yes. What we make
you
that
take it
mean.
personally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, this funny story from the annals of my consulting life. I was working with a very, very large company, and it was about 3 years ago on culture change around creativity, empowerment, and collaboration. So okay, great. So we created a tool and a practice around being comfortable with failure. And everyone was like really enjoying it because it was like, oh, then we can innovate and we can experiment, and great. Everyone's like, and then the word came down from the Grand Fromage, you can't use the word failure. And I was like, that is too ironic and too hilarious to even, I don't even know where to go with this. I'm just going to have to, is a little form of madness. You know, what's the treatment of this issue? We can't even use the word failure. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's a problem. because well, some of us learn anyway. Well, they keep telling us, failure is just how you get in it. Who is it? John Maxwell, fail forward,
Yeah.
This kind of thing. But I think most people, and I'm probably just as human as everybody else in this regard, when you say the word fail, they don't take it incident by incident. They take it lifelong process. And now this word covers my life, because if I fail at this, obviously I'm going to fail at everything else in life, and which is not it. It's, in the, in the, where you're going on a daily basis, stepping off the curb wrong could be a big fail, but you learn not to do that. But once you're okay, you've helped for the rest of your life. I would love to say that I am totally exempt from that complex, that whole fail, but I'm not. It's disgusting sometimes how human I actually am. It's bothersome in cases.
At the beginning when we were talking, you said, we've Switch On's grown, and it has, and I said, yeah, almost, kind of, but it's also gone the opposite direction. So part of what I've really gone on my own personal journey, and this is, I was rereading Jung, the pioneering therapist, Carl Gustav Jung, recently, and looking at one of his models of human development, stage development, and around the time that I happen to be, my age, this is 100 years old, and it's also gendered around the masculine. But anyway, one of the things I was really getting from his work is, at a certain age, you realize that the sun is at the midday of your life, and everything from here on is going to get a bit less warm and hot and sexy. And that gives you time to reflect, and maybe you go and buy a Tesla, or maybe you double down on being a great husband or wife or whatever. So I've been really reflecting on my own sense of that lifelong failure. What have I achieved what I thought I would achieve? Does it make a difference? Have I achieved other things that I didn't know were a thing to even have as an objective when I was 18 or 22? And it's really humbled me, and in a really beautiful way. I feel so much more appreciative of what my success is, as I mean being a dad, being able to be in a relationship itself, to not even what the relationship's like, just being able to continue to be in a relationship that's growing is itself a massive success in life. Putting a roof over your kids in a pandemic, that's a success. That doesn't have to be on the front cover of a magazine. That's all the dream and the illusion. And if it happens, great. Mazel tov for you. But there are some basics, which is, can I be a human being in a community and not make it all about me? These are really the successes. And I wish our kids were given some of these goals in life, rather than, get a great job and go to a great college and make $1 million before you're 30, or whatever the things are. I don't know what they are anymore. Be an Instagram influencer,
Well, I think we were talking about this the other day, that one of the things, at least the people in our circle, has happened during the lockdown, is just this big reflection on what is meaningful in my life. What do I really care about? What's really important? What do I value? Because if you have to stop all of a sudden, you have to start questioning that. And if your identity is wrapped up in a certain way or at work, and now you no longer have that job because it doesn't exist anymore, you start to question, God, what is the meaning of my life? And I think we also realize what kind of our addiction for rewards, for information, for stuff, for a thrill, for a good time, like just, whatever it is, whatever the media is throwing out, what's hip, what's cool. And it's just
holidays,
just constant. Yeah. Traveling, going on holidays, going to parties. And suddenly you can't do any of that. It's kind of like this withdrawal, which really makes you either go in and start looking at what's going on and what you're feeling. And can you sit with those feelings without trying to push them away or numb them away with other addictions? And just really question what you care about in the world, what you're passionate about, what is your purpose? Why are you here? I mean, I think it's such a gift that we have been given during this time to really question those things.
What was the or? You said you either do that. What's the other?
Or you don't.
Or you storm the Capitol with your mask dangled from your banner. I don't know.
I've been wanting to bring this up throughout, and this seems a good spot for it. Now that you two are more partners in the business, and what's it like doing that together and maintaining your relationship and parenting and not being allowed to go fly all over the place and kind of stuck together in the same small space? I mean, my wife has been home for most of the last 9 months, and she just left she's got a part-time job now. She starts a full-time job next week, but we've been in the same house together, but we haven't been working on the same projects together.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we've been largely open. If we want to go out to eat, we can. We don't often.
Yeah.
But
it's that
we can go to the grocery store. We can get out there and go places. It's also warm here all year, so we're out. We took our daughter to the beach a couple of weeks ago. It's still a little too cold to get in the water, but at least we can get out and do stuff. What's it like to kind of be, I don't want to say stuck together all the time, but y'all are stuck together all the time.
Summer was easier. Let's definitely say that.
I mean, I have to say, I think one of the biggest sort of sanctuaries for us is nature around here. We have a lot of beautiful woodlands and walks and the South Downs, and every day we go out and just root down, ground down, and connect in.
I've done more of that myself.
Really, really resourcing.
Well. Yeah, I've done more like going off on my own, walking, running, cycle trips. Before we would always maximize every minute together when I'm not flying around, and now I'm learning how nice it is to go and do my own thing. We have do you want to have your own night tonight? So we are learning to give each other some more space. That said, we are together an enormous amount. We do have to make decisions every day together about everything from investments to kids to whether we like the strap line on the Facebook ad. So, we have spent a lot of time together, and I think we've done pretty damn good. We've had some moments where we've needed without knowing it to take a couple of days off from each other. So we just sort of distanced away, but without any major hoo-ha. We've had a couple of beautifully fiery fights as well. We've had all the rich tapestry, but we've done a lot before this. We did a lot of work with a particular form of relationship therapy called imago therapy. Really good. Recommend it highly. Don't recommend much, but this is really good. And so we've learned there's some tools there called dialoguing. There's some tools around sharing what you're yearning for, not just what you need and want, but like heartfelt. So we had some of that stuff already. So we've got those tools when we know there's a little.
But honestly, we don't know how people work together without these tools,
Yeah.
whether there's a lockdown or there isn't.
Or whether you're business partners or not. I mean, you
Yeah.
need, I've had 3 great business partnerships, and we've always had fights and fiery moments, and we've had coaching and therapy sometimes, because it's just difficult to do stuff with another human being.
Yeah.
That isn't you, that doesn't think like you, and annoys you because they don't think like you. And they're like, how could you do that?
I'm right. I'm right.
Yeah.
No, I'm right.
There's a saying, you can either be right or you can be married. And I love that. That's a important thing to remember.
I'm going to have to run that through my repertoire here. I think I've been right 3 times.
Oh, my God.
No, so was that. Anyway.
But we're very lucky because we both were married before, and we've both gone through some of that illusions and delusions and fragments and implosions. And we chose each other really purposefully. And we've been together 10 years now, and it sometimes still feels like a first date. But that's not by accident. That's because we work. I mean, we probably do, on average, 2 hours a day on our relationship. If you added up all the averages, sometimes less, sometimes more. Yeah. We're dialoguing, we're talking about something that didn't work for you, or we're reconnecting through touch without the words, without being obsessing about who did what. We do a lot of work on our relationship, and that gives us also lots of joy. We all know you don't get the outcomes without the inputs. It's just the nature of life, right? Yeah. And if you want a great relationship that allows you to co-create and also enjoy making love but be good parents, you're going to have to invest in that puppy. Yeah, it's not going to come by accident. Well, not to us anyway, not with all our trauma.
So which one of you is smarter? No, just kidding. No. So so you've been together for 10 years, you said. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering that.
Yeah, 10 years. But it does really feel fresh still. That's the thing. It does feel like we are still learning in every domain of how we connect. We're still like, oh, we could do this thing, or that's an interesting way of doing things together. It feels so fresh. But part of the reason is we chose each other because we both were this committed to self-development.
Exactly. I was going to say, if you are living a life of transformation, then things are always changing. There's no time to be bored or stuck, or if you are in tuned with what's going on inside, and therefore all the people around you and the relationships, it is biodynamic, as we said at the beginning. It's always changing and shifting. So if you feel stuck in your life, that's an invitation and a call for some form of transformation.
And you don't need any metaphorical or literal red lingerie to spice things up. It's always spicy. There's endless spice because we're revealing new parts of ourselves. And maybe one day it will stop, and maybe one day we'll be like, okay, I really know all of myself now, and I will know all of you. But so far, I feel like we're just scratching the surface of either of us, really.
Sure, you're both still smiling. That's a plus in my book. And together on a video for the public. I mean, congratulations. Thank you very much.
We have gone on stage to run deep trauma experiences together, having just had like a massive breakdown. We've been able to still deliver and still have the heart connection enough between us, the deepest level of love, to be able to get back in the game and deal with our probably petty ego conflict. Always petty, right? Doesn't mean it's not awesome and important, but
But that is a big part. That's the embodiment part as well. We know how to self-regulate and come back into a settled, neutral, open-hearted space.
Yes, and I fancy the pants off her, so that helps as well.
So, I mean, a lot of in all the transforming things that you do and teach, are you teaching that relationship piece to people?
We started to design a program called Master Transformational Relationships, and that will complete our 3 sort of mastery programs that we've been putting together over the years. And I guess that will be really where I got the feeling it'll be the one we enjoy most out of all of them. I just got this feeling that when we do it, it's going to be so real and raw, and yet good and yeah, excited about it. But it won't be for another probably year before we get it online. When you
hurry up, I'm getting old.
Well, we developed 2 programs in the last year, although they were all already designed, if you know what I mean. We'd already done them in multiple ways to actually conceive of them, design each week, every bit of media, video, audio, whatever, do the marketing, put together the Facebook ad. It's a lot. It really is.
All that yourself?
Yeah. We have that. We have people helping us do some of the actual bits and bobs.
Yeah.
Right.
But just the and so we're just really aware that to do a program like that properly, it's like a year. It's like a year of work, even if that's not even running the thing. That's just like getting it to the ship to leave the ocean. So I've got ideas about doing a program for transformational investors, like conscious investment. We so many program ideas, but we just, again, slow it down, Sally, do one really well, then do the next one. It's a real, it's what's it called? It's like what do you call it? It's like a puja, the Indian term for sacred. A puja for me is slowing it down, just slowing the ambition, the entrepreneurial.
I was going to say
fire. Humdinger. It's a humdinger. Humdinger. I love that. I don't know what a humdinger is, but I've always loved it. A doozy. It's the same in the doozy.
I used to have a definition, but I forgot what it was. So it was
definitely. It's in the American words I love category.
Awesome.
Snafu. It's in the same category. And a fubar.
Well,
fubar. These are all these terms.
I think snafu was a military term.
Yeah.
But that's
so is fubar,
yeah, from the Air Force there. But good. You guys you glow together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so it's nice, at first I thought maybe we're just going to have a couple like really, really smart people talking to us who look good, but you guys are a team. You're in each other's mind. You actually communicate at this, from what I'm seeing, at this really awesome level that a lot of us need to learn how to communicate at.
It is difficult.
Thank you.
Necessary.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. It takes a lot.
Yeah. Takes a lot from both of us to
get past those fear levels.
I don't like best self ideas about best self because I don't know what that is, but it does take a lot to be my best self with her, to show up to my standards, let alone her own. And that's probably where we have most challenges. We both have very high standards for each other. It's like,
oh, well, there you go.
And that's where we have to we've learned a lot in that, haven't we? It's like, you know what? We're super flawed and super challenged in so many different ways. But I guess the underlying thing is just like the deepest gratitude for having found this person. I didn't know that I knew there was someone out there for me, and I went through lots of different people on that search. And then I got married. I just still thought, maybe I've just got crazy romantic visions of watched too many When Harry Met Sally movies. And then actually found someone in my middle-ish age. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
For caring about my growth and my own transformation as much as yours, and
learning not to just.
That's a rarity. That's a rarity.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Being married to a coach is never a fun thing.
That's my problem.
Exactly.
No, that's good. So how long have you been coaching?
Well, probably 15 years for me, and you
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you just have a breakthrough for me, please? Can you just have a breakthrough? That's the kind of the marriage to the coach.
Can't you see what I can see?
Can you see what an idiot you're being? Yeah, it's challenging. Definitely challenging. That thing. Are you both coaches? What's your?
I'm a coach.
Kelvin's a coach.
Yeah. Josh is a de facto coach for me.
I tend to be more on the research and writing side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I try and do a bit of that, and I'm constantly humbled by how hard it is to write well.
Yeah.
It's a real journey. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your Josh? I've been talking a lot lately. You got
No, well, you didn't talk for the first half hour, so
I was engrossed.
so keep going.
So what is so right now, and you may have answered this, but from where you are right now, what's the pinnacle of what you're looking at for your upcoming time here? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you going to go?
Wow.
I can see about a year. I can't. I find
I'll take that.
I'm learning to not try and plan too far at the moment because so much is up in the air.
Yeah, especially with the
pandemic.
I feel like I'm.
It's going to go away. If you listen to some of our podcasts, Josh tells you that not too long from now we're going to have Excedrin for colds, Excedrin for whatever, Excedrin for COVID. We're going to have all that just to pop it in. So we don't worry about COVID right now. It's gonna.
A holiday would be a good plan. That's part of our plan. Would be nice.
Holiday, that would be good.
Had a holiday for a while. Then we do have to get to see Sacramento to see my mother-in-law. That's definitely. So business-wise, I think for me the great pinnacle for me right now is to have these two programs, the leadership program and the living program, with a growing community of people in them who are just enjoying the work, enjoying being in the community, and that we've finished our pivot from live events to longer term virtual experiences, where we can still do live events. It's all there for us. We can do whatever we want to do, but for me, this year, that's the pinnacle, is a group, communities of people who are just going, I'm loving this stuff, loving the fact I can do it in my own time and space. And that as a business, we've made that migration from the liveness, where liveness becomes an option, not the dominant
necessity.
And done it, enjoying it, learning together.
Yeah,
I think this book is a big thing for me. I want to write the book together. I mean, we got a lot of it, but we want to finish it off together and to find our co-voice in writing. Even though I'll probably do the actual typing, if you know what I mean, just to find the voice together, that's going to be a really beautiful experience, I think. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Ditto to everything.
Ditto to that.
Yeah.
Well, that's lucky. We'd have to have a strategy meeting straight after.
We're aligned.
The VR, I have to say,
alignment is a good thing.
Alignment is a good. I'm really excited about technology. I've always wanted to do technology and transformation. I've always wanted to find a way to use it. And I attempted to set up a production company for TV, transformational TV. Got a little bit of the way, but I really believe rich media is where I'd love to take our business eventually, so that it's just available in your living room. I've been very lucky. I've been to lots of live workshops, retreats, healing sessions with amazingly talented people, training programs, leadership programs. And I think this technology piece, if, for example, if I could persuade Netflix to get serious about transformational programming, for example, not just like one documentary every now and again, but what does that look like? And what does VR look like? I mean, that's really gets me excited.
They just picked up Headspace for a series.
Yeah, they did.
So
we've been showing it to our son, one of our sons. He really likes the animations.
I was sitting here trying to think of this word. So you're actually waiting to be able to create a holodeck so you can have these things in people's houses.
Pretty much. That would be like, I have this visual where you can basically tell the system, right now I want my guru to be a woman, 50s, from Bali, from an Indian tradition. And the system will generate a guru for you, or experiences for you of that modality, of that flavor for right now. Or actually now I feel like more like a Sufi ecstatic dance type experience, please. And I go, okay, cool, boom. So and then obviously not a way to go through the experiences, so you're building in a useful way. That's kind of what I'm kind of thinking. What's it like to have these experiences from the world brought to you in your living room with some design, with some developmental structure, so it's not just random stuff.
And I do definitely see a space for that in VR.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything VR yet. I won't even put on the glasses. So
it's surprisingly good, I have to say.
I may have to expand my experience here just a little bit, just for grins and giggles here. So.
Well, I put on one of the Oculus when they were showing it at a boat event thing, a cruise thing, and it was like all right. And then my oldest bought one for himself with his birthday money like a week ago, and I put on the latest thing, like $300. So it's not like insane amounts of money. And I put on the goggles, and there was like a star, explore the stars, cosmos type thing, science of the planets. And I was like floating in zero grav. You can pull a planet and spin it around. And I was like, wow. And that's just now, 2021, I think it is.
It keeps moving.
What happens if, in 5 years from now, wow, we are really going to be able to create rich transformational experiences in these places. So I want to be in on that action, basically. I think there's some beautiful things to be done there.
It seems like there wasn't a lot of progress in VR until very recently.
Yeah.
In the 90s when it really first hit, it was big goggles and gloves, and you had to have a platform to stand on. And the only real thing that happened over the next 20 years was you could do it without the platform, but you still had big bulky goggles and gloves, and you needed lots of space to move in, and It was still really expensive. And now it's come down a lot, and it's easier probably to develop for as well.
That's I've got some people in connections on the West Coast who are in this field. Haven't reached out yet because I want us to be sure what the actual concept is.
Right.
But I got the feeling there are those kind of like in the gaming world, there's this Unreal Engine which you can then build video games on. I think there's a lot of that kind of middleware now where you can manipulate existing worlds rather than having to build everything from code.
Right.
Until that point happens, it's just too expensive. Unless you're Google, you can't do it, right? But once you get hit that, like WordPress is in websites. Once you hit something that an average person can start to manipulate, it's just too expensive to develop anything good, basically.
Right. You don't want to have to start from scratch to build your platform. You just want to build your thing on top of the existing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that will save carbon. You don't have to fly to Bali to have your experience.
Right. And it can be just as immersive almost, right?
Almost.
Yeah. You can't take off your goggles and go to lunch with the people you were in there with, but
exactly. I'm trying to think of Balinese food. The pad thai obviously not from Bali, but the pad thai won't be as good in your living room.
Right. Well, the pad thai might be as good, but the company won't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Oh
man.
Well, I think we're at a good stopping point. Anything that we didn't get to that you really hope that you wanted to talk about? We got.
I don't think so. I feel totally complete.
I feel complete.
Complete.
I hope that people feel inspired to take on a life of transformation. Not only for themselves, but for their friends, their families, their coworkers, and for the planet. So vital at this point.
I think this comes at a really good time. I think a lot of people are tired of where they've been for the last 10 months in lockdown, and they're ready for something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where do you hang out most on the web? Where can people find you?
Great question. Facebook, Switch on
now. Facebook,
Instagram, same one for Instagram. YouTube. You can link in with me if you fancy, particularly if you're more in the sort of business leadership space. What I say to most people is sign up to our newsletter on our website, because that's
keeps you in the loop.
Yeah, that's where we consistently communicate new articles, or about to launch a whole range of Spotify playlists for different transformational moods.
Oh, cool.
That kind of stuff. And that's where we communicate. We're best at email, basically.
Yeah.
I've got your website up here, so you've got to message us blank down here, and
you go down to the footer. There's a sign up in the footer of switchonnow.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the footer.
Go to the footer.
There it is. Okay.
Exactly. And awesome. That's the best.
Cool.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being here. We'll send you a link when this launches. It should actually be Monday midday.
Wow. Okay. That's a quick turnaround.
He pays me well.
I was going to say that's all him. All I got to do is put together show notes, and I was half done from.
Good teamwork.
That's great. Yeah. So we'll share the love, and we'll put it on a newsletter at some point, and it'll all be good.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Nice meeting you guys.
And you guys.
Take care.
Enjoy your dinner out.
You too. All right.
Bye.
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 Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye. A Better Humanhood production.